war on ISIS. Fighters from the terrorist group reportedly retreating from an oil refinery in northern Iraq after surrounding it last month. We're being told Iraqi security forces have now entered the refinery. That's the largest in Iraq, an important piece of infrastructure. If the Iraqis have regained control of this strategic refinery, it would represent their biggest victory against ISIS to date. We'll continue to follow that this morning, all those developments. Ukraine this morning preparing for, quote, total war. The words of Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko. He tells a German newspaper his country is fighting for European values, but he says Russia does not respect any agreement. Russia denies it has any forces in eastern Ukraine. Meanwhile, the shelling goes on from both sides. CNN's Phil Black is near Ukraine's border with Russia with more.
This is in eastern Ukraine. It is a location where 4 months ago, Malaysia Airlines Flight 17 broke up in the skies above, crashed to the earth here over a wide debris field. And it is only now, after that length of time, that much of that wreckage is being collected in an operation being overseen by Dutch investigators. Look behind me, you can see a twisted piece of the fuselage. Wreckage like this is strewn across this incredibly wide area. Over the last couple of days, the Dutch investigators overseeing Ukrainian workers have been using cranes to lift up this wreckage onto trucks and get it out of here to a local train station where it will eventually find its way back to the Netherlands. But 4 months after the crash, it'll still be probably a couple of weeks before the experts get to start looking through it. It is an eternity in terms of an investigation, but important that this is finally happening now. It's getting in just before winter, which is crucial. The snow will be blanketing this area very, very soon. And of course, there is the situation with the ongoing violence here as well. Back in September, a ceasefire was signed. It saw a drop in the intensity of fighting, which allowed the planning of this operation to take place. But as we know, over the last week or so, the Ukrainian assessment, the NATO assessment, the concerns of European observers on the ground has been that there has been an influx of Russian soldiers, weaponry into this region. And they fear that that coming winter can also be a deadline for an imminent offensive of some kind, a new land grab, if you like, by the separatists, by Russian forces. That is what the Ukrainian government fears. That is what the Ukrainian government says it is preparing for. That's why the Ukrainian president is talking about all-out war, total war, the worst-case scenario. Of course, for the moment, Russia, the separatists, they deny the presence of those sorts of forces, but it remains to be seen just what happens here in a situation that is incredibly tense, where fighting continues only a short distance from here, despite the fact that ceasefire was signed back in September. Christine.
All right, Phil Black for us this morning in Ukraine. A critical